It is an honor to spend this time with you, to tell all of you within earshot of my admiration and indeed my affection for Kwame Brath. We met several months ago after many letters and conversations through our common friends, and we spent several hours, surprisingly, in laughter, talking about the ridiculous, the sublime, the historic, some serious conversations dating from his life and his love of Malcolm. But mostly it really was hours of laughter. The ridiculous in terms of the war, the political situation, and also the serious, the situation that black folks faced, not just in Harlem, not just in New York, not just in the United States, but all around the world. He is a man who should be honored on his 70th birthday, and his 75th, and his 80th, and his 85th, and beyond, because he has remembered us for so many years in struggle on behalf of freedom for all humanity. To Kwame, to all of you, I thank you for this opportunity. On the move, long live John Africa. From death row, this is Mumia Abu Jamal. And I, definitely won't forget the brother, because he was fun. I've read about the brother and heard about the brother, like I said, but, to see this little guy and to kick it with him, he has a hell of a sense of humor. You don't see that in guys his age a lot. It is funny. It was a joy just being in his presence.
All right, good afternoon. As you know, you're watching 30 Frames a Second, and for those of you who watch regularly, I'm Nat Wood. Saturday, we're going to be honoring one of the premier soldiers in the Pan-African struggle, the struggle of black people throughout the entire diaspora. He's one of the few soldiers that we have that is just loved and respected by everyone. And in case you didn't get it from Mumia honoring Kwame Brath's 70th birthday, it is indeed the inimitable Kwame Brath that we're going to be celebrating this Saturday. I'm going to read a little bit now. A lot of you know Kwame as a longtime producer of the radio show on WBAI, but I'm going to read a little bit of Kwame's bio that's from the World African Diaspora Union, which we refer to as WADU. And I'm going to take my glasses off because I'm old, so I got to take my glasses off to read. Kwame Brath, Chief Elder Emeritus, co-founder of the WADU, called by His Excellency Dudley Thompson an icon of the Pan-African movement. As founder and chair of the Patrice Lumumba Coalition, Kwame worked relentlessly for the African liberation struggle, holding panels, rallies, demonstrations, and speaking at colleges and universities and community forums for the independence of Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Mozambique, Namibia, and his anti-apartheid work for the release of Nelson Mandela and for majority rule of South Africa years before the 1986 campaign that brought popular politicians to the cause. His support of Guinea in their struggle to maintain their independence despite the war waged against them by the former colonial invaders, Portugal, earned him the Croix de Chivalry from Chivalry. I don't speak French, but I know it's pretty in French. The Cross of Chivalry from President Touré and the government of Guinea. His work with Unity in Action, which he headed in the African Liberation Support Committee, is greatly responsible for countering the millions of dollars spent by the illegal regime in South Africa to get to the minds of the American public and keep them silent to the injustices that were perpetrated on the majority population of South Africa and Namibia. This earned him the right to be the master of ceremonies at the 1990 tribute to Nelson and Winnie Mandela in Harlem, where more than 200,000 people gathered to salute one of the greatest freedom fighters of modern times. 4 months after he was released from a 27-year term in prison. Let's see. I just messed up some stuff there, but I do that. 27-year term in prison, where he might still be today if not for the struggle of the masses around the world and the crushing defeat of the South African Army by the forces SWAPO's People's Liberation Army of Namibia plan, Angola's Angolan People's Liberation Armed Forces, and Cuban International Armed Volunteers at Soweto, nationalist pioneer movement in the 1950s. Alambe initiated the naturally shows that led to spread and promote Black is Beautiful. And as I said before, we're going to honor Alambe Brath this Saturday at Harriet Tubman. And I am proud to have his baby brother here with me, John Brathwaite. We're waiting on Kwame. He must have got waylaid. But in any event, we're going to have a real good time talking to Alambe's brother. We're going to dig all in his business. And with that, if you guys are ready, you can roll my opening, and we will be right back. The fact where the victim is now the perpetrator and the perpetrator is now the victim. And that just drives me crazy. And we're back. And as I said before, it is my honor to welcome John Brathwaite, the youngest brother of the three of them. There was Alambe, Kwame, and John. And he's going to take us back in time. Now, when we get to the place on Saturday, when we start talking about the place on Saturday, when we all go there, it's a free event. You really ought to see this event, and we'll be talking about it more. I didn't bring the flyer, so I'm going to have to look all of that up. Somebody will call in and, lambast me for doing that. But there's all sorts of speakers who want to speak on Alambe's behalf. You have these tremendous performers, and everybody's going to be speaking about the tremendous work Alambe Brath has been doing for like decades as a freedom fighter. But I got his brother here, so we're going to talk about Alambe the human being, because you're not going to get that anywhere else. And as Mamiya said, that's a funny brother with a lot of love in his heart. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce to you John Brathwaite. How you doing, brother?
I'm fine.
Excellent.
I'm fine. Glad to be here.
Excellent. We were talking a little before the show.
Yes.
And you said that you're basically a native New Yorker. Your family were New Yorkers. They sort of came out of Harlem, and you ended up being raised in the Bronx. Take us back to the early days. What was it like being the baby brother of two dynamic individuals like Alambe and Kwame?
Well, first of all, I was very lucky because you had two older brothers who could help you with all your homework. So that was always kind of good. But interesting you mentioned funny, because we always had a lot of laughter in our house, and a lot of interesting current events and things. But laughter was always present. Someone was always telling a joke or trying to make somebody else laugh. It just came with the family, with a lot of laughter.
Right. You mentioned that a lot of times people see activists, especially dynamic activists, like not just Alambe, but all of you guys. Kwame is certainly a tremendous activist. If nothing else, your intense family structure and the love that you had in that family structure is about as black as it gets anywhere in the world. Anytime you have a black family that learns together, grows together, loves and develops together, that's a Black Power movement, no doubt. Your father, you said he was an entrepreneur. He ran a cleaners. Give us some insight on coming up, your parents.
My father was the sole proprietor of a dry cleaners in Harlem, that was well known for his excellence in tailoring. And so people came from far and wide to have their stuff expertly tailored, redone, resized.
Where was this at in Harlem?
It was diagonal across the street from Small's Paradise.
Wow.
It was 134th and 7th Avenue.
Yeah, that's hard as you
The location is no longer there because if you go to that corner, you'll see Hats by Bun. But years past, there was a dry cleaners and a grocery store just past where Bun's shop is now. And we had the dry cleaners, and of course they cleaned and they pressed clothes and stuff. But the reason for our survival and the success of the shop was the fact that my father's an expert tailor.
Right. Now, you also mentioned the fact that your father was an entrepreneur during probably the period of the most intellectual growth of any black community in America.
Yes.
So you grew up with. How did your brother gravitate so much toward the Garvey movement? What was in place in the family structure that created this dynamic awareness
There
of
was
things
talk
that
of
were going?
Marcus Garvey, and we understood Marcus Garvey in a very positive way. And so he was always a figure mentioned in family discussions and stuff. But I think it was sometime before my brother's organization started the Naturally shows in 1962.
Remember?
No. The African Jazz Art Society and Studios. They were the first organization, and they sponsored jazz concerts in the Bronx, mostly at the Club 845 in the Bronx, promoting jazz, just promoting jazz. But then they branched out to start doing the Naturally shows, and that's when the whole Black is Beautiful thing started to take off. The natural hair and the Black is Beautiful.
This was early 60s?
Early 60s.
Wow.
But they were political before then, because that didn't just come out of the blue. So I can't give you an exact date on it, but but that was early 60s, late 58 through 62, that period. I think it all happened there. I think that in seeing things like the murder of Emmett Till and other injustices, it sort of politicizes you. You try to figure out what to do. And I don't think that the solution, the nonviolent solution that was being promulgated at the time, was one that had much appeal, not in the circles that I'm familiar with. And so I think that there had to be an alternative. And that alternative came about in the form of Black nationalism.
How did you guys become so aware of Africa? I mean, even today, and we're talking 21st century, there is a programming of black people that makes them almost adverse to even admitting to themselves that they are African, much less acknowledging it to the world. And you know.
In our family, there was always a lot of Black pride. The perception was, well, first of all, the family came originally from Barbados, so it was an outside kind of perspective.
Right. You know how stupid it is.
But also, it was that that kind of understanding that what you're being fed here is not the real story, because somebody's telling you that you can't do this, you're inferior and stuff, and we never had that. I never got that when I was a child. You know, it was all about being able to do things and so on. So that's, you don't have that perspective. You have a different perspective. You start out being Women tell me I am somebody.
Right.
So that's where that started from.
Right. I say this often that if you're a king, you know it. You know, I mean, and I just want to say, I had the pleasure of welcoming Kwame Brathwaite. He has arrived. So speaking of kings, His Royal Highness Kwame Brathwaite is here, who is a dynamic individual in his own right. You know, it must have been very difficult. You coming behind these two guys. These two guys are
they're putting away. You just want to see how someone else did something, was successful and stuff, and then you want to be like them.
Right.
But you also put your own spin on it. He's got his own special things that we all look up to.
Right.
Thank you.
Kwame.
Yes, sir.
How was it growing up now? John is like, what, 7, 6.5?
5 years younger.
5 years younger. Mm-hmm. So when he's just coming up into his stickball era, you know, you guys are like teenagers. You are beginning to formulate very complicated ideas, and you know, and see the world in a unique young adult, young African perspective and whatnot. And you got baby brother. How is that? So you got one eye on the world and one eye on baby brother. You know, coming up in New York City. Take us back to the glorious days of yesteryear.
Well, you know, our years of enlightenment or endarkenment, as we like to say, was started about 1948.
Wow.
When we were like 10. I was 10 years old.
Wow, you're 10 and 48. So you come up, you're born basically into the Harlem Renaissance era.
Yes.
In the heart of the of Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All right. And that's when we started getting conscious of what was happening in the world. All right. Growing up on the block, there it was just like any other block, you know.
Wow.
Except for that, you know, several people influenced us about what was happening here. When we used to go to the movies and they had the chapters, and then they had Pathway News, or would see the French Indochina War and whatnot, or whatever war was at the time, and then you see these troop planes landing, it says, and the French forces come on, all these Africans, I said, what is that? I thought these are the French forces, you know?
Right.
And whatnot, and we started questioning that and whatnot. Growing up, several people that went to school and churches, like Colin Powers, you know, right? He was going off towards Southern Boulevard and learning Yiddish, and we were going
that's the same thing in the Revolutionary War. They keep saying the French, because it was Jean Lafitte. But the Haitians, it wasn't
this country for them.
Right. A lot of people don't know that, you know.
Well, we got to tell them.
What is the feeling you get now? You're born in '38, which means that you're coming up. You're born in the era of Arturo Schomburg. You go from being born in the age of Arturo Schomburg to being displayed in the Schomburg Museum. You come a long way, baby.
That's right. Yes, look. Yeah. It was quite a trip. Our father was the one that got us interested in art because he was an artist himself, you know, a painter and whatnot. And used to take us on summer vacations up to Sag Harbor and up those places and teach us how to paint in oils and whatnot and things like that. But we continued, you know, dealing with, you know, what's happening in the world.
Right.
And it wasn't until about 1956 that we really got involved in African nationalism and Garveyism as we met Carlos Coates, an African nationalist pioneer and whatnot.
Wow.
And
tell us about that.
Well, he was our mentor.
That's big.
As a matter of fact, the 100th anniversary of Carlos Coates' birth is June 23rd, which is coming up in this year.
For those who don't know, tell us who Carlos Coates.
Carlos Coates was born in Dominican Republic, all right? And his father was a Garvey head. As you know, Garvey had chapters all over the world. His paper, The Negro World, was distributed all that, and that brought consciousness to a lot of places under colonialism. A lot of one of the best jobs for black people then was men were merchant seamen.
Right. I got a bicycle every year.
They had chapters in Cuba at UNIA. They had chapters. They had, I think, how many chapters in Namibia?
Right.
You know, South Africa, and in southern, also in South America.
Right.
All right. So Garveyism was being spread all over the world, and Carlos Cooks, who was a Garveyite, his father was a Garveyite, and came here and to the United States. And when he arrived here, some of the folks in the movement gave him, like a lackluster welcome, and he came, and bringing money to the organization and everything. So he got a little discouraged. But Carlos Cooks was enrolled into the youth division of the UNIA, and he grew up, and he was the head of the youth division. He grew up in that. He was moving fast in there. And make a long story short, after J. Edgar Hoover made his name with establishing it wasn't the FBI then, it was, I forget what they called it and whatnot, but
G-Man or something.
Whatever it was, but it was no good, whatever. But it was framed Garvey and put those convicted him in an open envelope.
It was empty. Wow.
And somebody said, well, he had this in that envelope, and he fell this to me, and whatnot. And they convicted him of fraud, mail fraud.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was spent some time in prison, and then went to.
His vision was so massive; it had to make the white power structure nervous. I mean, you're talking about
I mean, here he had the Black Star Line. And
right. At the same time, you're saying, up you mighty race, you can do anything you want to do, he has these big visions. We don't even have these kind of visions, like today, these all-encompassing visions. We just want like a big TV. And,
Right, yeah. Well, after Garvey he lived in England after he was released from prison, went to England and whatnot, and they were corresponding with him. Carlos Cooks was corresponding and things like that. And Garvey died in 1940, and in 1941, Carlos Cooks established the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. Because he thought that the UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association, was just sitting on the fence and just coming to meetings that most of the folks were very old and whatnot, and they would sing the anthems, recite this and whatnot. So
the same thing we do today.
Like a lot of the folks are doing today, they're not even keeping up with what's happening. And so they established that. And you and
your brother are very, very close in age. Were you coming to these conclusions? Were you becoming aware as a teen almost? Was one guy a little more precocious, or how was this?
When I say us, myself, and a few other people that we had from the jazz, like African Jazz Art Society. And it started as high school of industrial art. And after we graduated, I started this. At that time, it was a social club, and then we started promoting jazz. And we got more and more political. And as we got more political, we started at our house. We had a family house, and we had a finished basement that we used to meet in. And we got more and more political, and some folks said, we want to go in that direction. And there was a lot of arguing out there, and the guys had to step outside, maybe not there. But I that was, and that brought us into, we started doing more things that were more African conscious and all that.
Just knowing certain things, can make some people uncomfortable. Just having a political awareness, when you're in circles that, don't know who's running the basketball game, but they really want to,
take responsibility, but do something about it.
Right.
And that's not what they're doing,
Right.
We have our affairs and whatnot, and then the very first affair covered in Sloan's Paradise, December 24th, 1956, like that. And I came ready to work, and every day that did nothing and whatnot, he came over, goes shopping, where the flowers with the girls, right? And whatnot, and then just go on party. So, but that song went by the wayside as we learned more and more about Garveyism, the philosophy of Garveyism, because Garvey, which is the book that he produced, and it was like a rebel, all right? And
56, that was not long after the death of Emmett Till.
55, yeah. And in high school, we saw in high school at the time. And we saw Jet magazine that...
What was that experience like? And even the picture in Jet magazine obviously couldn't even do justice to the truth. And the picture was horrific. But they sort of had to make up, they sort of had to fluff up the face, because as many, his mother said, his eye sockets were completely out, and they had to do extensive work just to get it in that condition so that it could be
display.
Yeah. Now you were in 1955, 56. How old were you? About 12. 12. Were you aware of?
I took what I did. Around the house.
Wow.
But
Wow. At 12, that's
everybody in the country knew about that.
It's one thing for someone 18, 19. It's another thing when you're coming into all these laws in the world, and you just want to do a thing, and all of a sudden you just have truth slapped across the back of your head with a brick, this is who you are, this is what you are, this is what you fight for.
Along with his art, he started going into caricatures, because they would do cartoon strips, and whatnot, all this political. And of course, when he graduated from High School of Industrial Art, I was 1 year behind him, and he went to Cartoonist and Illustrated School, which is now School of Visual Arts. And some of the instructors there were fighting to keep him out and whatnot. And one instructor came to his aid, and fought for him. And that was Bern Hogarth, the creator of Tarzan. So we got in there, and he and that's we met Tom Feelings, and they were real tight together and whatnot. A lot of the political things.
Wow. So, now, somewhere in the course of this, you guys got into, you're into art, you're into politics, you're both photographers. Alamba is opening up a political jazz club, that you're a part of. So you're into art, you're into music, you're into current events, especially events that relate to the black, the African diaspora. You're starting organizations, you're starting to meet very influential people at a young age.
It was not only the beginning of the African support, but it was the beginning of the Black Arts Movement as we know it today. That's 1956. That's 9 years before the stated 1965 start of when Alain Baraka brought down his theater group up to Harlem. There was some great work in it, but that wasn't the beginning. It came because it was already a arts movement in Harlem.
Now, I'd be honest, and I don't want to go through an entire hour without asking the very pointed question, how is Orlando doing? And how is Mercer doing? Because, you know.
Most are doing fine.
Good.
She's doing fine. She's able to get around and whatnot. She's clear mind and everything else. Orlando is still in some semi-trance positions, and sometimes you can see that he's responding to what you're saying and whatnot, and he's staring off into the space. He has some things that he does when he has some something like that, and he'll say, or so and so, whatever, but is not able to speak.
Is there going to be a way to reach out to the family, or how? Because there's so many people who are always asking about Orlando, you know, and the only person I could speak to was you, and I didn't have your number until recently to even but people want to know how Orlando is doing, what they can do, and
a couple of things we're doing. One thing that every a lot of us have our own setting around the country at 9:30 to say a prayer for him. And
nice. That's
9:30, September 30th. So 9:30 is the prayer.
Excellent.
And there are certain things that we're going to experiment with education. So we're selling food in tubes, so we can't give them certain nutrients and stuff like that.
Right.
But there are certain other things that go through the scheme that we're going to experiment with. Tried once, and it seemed to have picked him up and got him more focused on looking at children. So that's one thing. But we need divine intervention right now, I think. Yeah.
Well, and we need to be more attentive in telling people who we rely on that we love them. We are very negligent in doing that. We are so busy, a lot of times it seems like we just lean and mad and that's really not who we are. That's what we're portrayed to be, but now, talking to you're a beautiful family, a lot of love, a lot of togetherness, forward thinking, aware. I don't think that people filled with bile and venom make very good soldiers.
Against the enemy and whatnot. Alama and I started a book some years ago called Visions of African Liberation, talking about this whole struggle and our growing up and the connections we made, and going right on up until finishing it now, because through the liberation movement from the first time in 1960 when Carlos Cooks heard that Salmon Yama was at the UN, this new young voice from the Southwest African People's Organization, petitioning the UN for independence of Southwest Africa. And Cooks heard about him and invited him up to speak at the Henry Lincoln Johnson Lodge Hall, which is on 126th Street between 5th and Lenox, which is the names of the street at the time and whatnot. And when he came and he spoke, it was so impassionate. We knew we had our man. And that's what that day we formed the Southwest African Relief Committee, to send them, foods and stuff and whatnot. And later on, and the Cooks told him, he said, listen, you can't appeal to the conscience of these people because they have no conscience. So you got to go to war. You got to fight. And some years later, 11 men crossed the border into Angola. They started military training. And that's when the People's Liberation Army of Libya was formed, and they fought. And we supported what we could do. We could send money, we could send boats and stuff like that. We didn't have no arms to send, but we did what we can, and every time they would come here, to the UN, because they're non-governmental organizations, and he would come and speak in the UN, and we would always have them up at Harlem. We probably had more presidents up in Harlem than any governmental agency. The Prime Minister, who was just in the country just 3 weeks ago tomorrow. I heard he was in the country. I dropped a note to the embassy, and he called me and he said he wanted to go and see Randy. And within half hour, I had arranged it, and I waited down in front of the nursing home. There was, cars coming in, zero, but now the Secret Service running out, come give me a and then he spent 20 minutes with Ilambe and whatnot. And because Ilambe was responding, so he did, it was up with that.
I think almost, and it's a fact of life, especially when I was as humble and non-assuming in a personal self. I think the only person who really didn't understand how incomparable he is, the only person who really does not know how dynamic and as I said, just incomparable is Ilambe himself. I think everybody else knows, everybody is bad.
I mean, and is appreciated all over the world. Correct.
And I say had because he's not in the street, around the people and whatnot. So people who don't know him will not have, probably not have a chance to really interact with him, But you never know. He's a strong brother, He might be cycles of but he might be like talking about me. Khalil Gibran Muhammad, who is now in charge of the Schomburg, he wrote a book called The Condemnation of Blackness, in which he talks about the way black people were portrayed by white elite and intelligentsia academicians, as being criminal, as being prone to nothing, they had nothing going for them in a positive manner. They're just naturally criminal or naturally stupid, And it deals with the Reconstruction era. The way that people in Africans all over the world are portrayed is not much difference as a whole, They'll take one or two black guys, they'll take an Obama and say, well, we're not really talking about you, you're one of the good ones. But by and large, the portrayal of Africans and African people is people who are not educable and prone to violence. And here you come out in one of the most racist eras in the history, of America, certainly one of the most racist and controlled eras post-Reconstruction, and you guys are tremendous, how do you explain that? What dynamic force was involved to make you guys so bad?
I guess your associations, people that you come in contact with, they can come in contact with ANP and African Entrepreneur Movement, it's such a, you can learn so much information there. And when you check back on it, you find it factual, So, I mean,
so we're looking for a blueprint of how to raise our families in the year of 2013, 2015, 2020. What sort of advice would you, how do we approach that? How do I get my family to be like,
I don't know of any formula, but certainly families should be concerned with each other and not the outside world, and building on that, and then we can be strong in that regard. That's the way I look at it.
If you guys can, I have, as always, I get consumed with my dress and I could like pick the brain forever. But you can put up the phone. Come on, you guys is too smart for me. See, I told you I'm always the dumbest one in the mix. You guys had a relationship with Gil Noble. How did that develop? You know.
I was working at ABC Television, the artist there, and Gil Noble, who was working with at WLIB as a newscaster, and after some turmoil in the 60s, riots and whatnot, that station was looking to get somebody back on the air because,
and somebody who had access to black people, because they were kind of scared.
Right, and Gil wasn't popularly known then, but I mean he was known as a newscaster on WLIB, so the people knew him and knew the good work that he was doing. So I guess they started turning to ABC, much more often. But when he arrived at ABC, Alambe approached him. He had been there a couple of years prior to that, and started talking to him about what direction he should be taking and whatnot. You don't normally get to call your own shots when you're in, and he was working as a newsman before that. He didn't have a program like it is or anything. He was working in news, and because of the need for having black programming, they put him ahead of that, and they started. It was like it is at the time. It was Copy King was just like working with him on that, and so it was oh goodness, forget his name now, but anyway, but you started looking for positive stories in the community, and Lonnie was there coaching each and every way and said, well, listen, this is what's happening here, and pointing in this direction, that direction, and Gil was very much into love with black folks, and people who are doing something and progressive.
Now this event that we're having May 11th, this Saturday at Harriet Tubman, how did this come together? What are the components? Who is involved? Who is sponsoring this thing? Who's putting it together? How did this come to be?
State Senator Bill Perkins.
State Senator Bill Perkins.
It's his idea, his brainchild and whatnot, and he's very handsome too, and whatnot. And he, of course, turned to the family for direction and for had meetings for now a couple months. And
he does some things. Senator Perkins does some things that has to confound the state senate sometimes. I remember he dedicated Kwame and Nkrumah in the state senate, And it was kind of funny because I saw the videotape and they were, the white state senators were, they had Kwame spit it out, But,
again, just a couple of weeks ago. Having a proclamation of the state senate on Illinois. Again, before people do a lot of
a lot of people don't realize, just how active he is in unabashedly promoting African culture and African people who are important to the African community, because the people who are important to us are often vilified by the Manhood Lodge. So tell us about the event.
The needs of the people and tries to fulfill it.
Correct. So tell us about the event, Saturday. Let me bring the flyer. Let me see if I can, while you talk, I'm going to see what I can pull up on this piece of junk.
Saturday's event will be a tribute to Alambe, and it's got a lot of appeal not only to people here in the community in other cities around the United States, but also to other governments. There'll be representatives from various African nations and other some Caribbean nations. We won't call because there are a couple of confirmations, and we don't want to go with some without speaking the others and whatnot. But I will tell you, one of the reasons I'm late here today, I was trying to finalize something. And I would just say that Saturday, the same day of the event, is founding father Samuel's birthday. Big thing in Namibia and whatnot. So. You might get a chance to wish him happy birthday.
Nice. You got some powerful speakers. You got people who could dominate. Just to get Randy West in there, Randy is a credit card date, No, you got to spend a couple of bucks and take somebody you really enjoy being with to hear this brother play. Elijah Allen Guns is going to be there, and I think
I was tried to avoid naming names because then
name them. It's a free event, and it's going to be a dynamic event. I would ask everybody to come out and check out this event because it's going to be one heck of an event. I'm trying to pull up some specifics on it because, like the Dunderhead I was in the studio Saturday with the Ancestor House. Camille Yarber is going to be probably doing libation. And we were doing her show on Saturday and whatnot, and I'm handing out these flyers, and I had on different pants, so. But it's going to be a dynamic event, a free event. There's no way on God's earth that you could get this quality of representation in a free event,
Or a paid event.
You're good. Right. Which is a testimony to Alambe.
And it's important that all the people in the community should come out to this event. So don't think of it as something for older people or people.
Right.
But the young people need to come and see this celebration as well because they're going to learn a lot at this event themselves. So if they may not be fully aware of the what's going on, they'll be educated when they leave. Right.
And Randy Weston plays jazz, but he don't play old people music. Randy is, jumping. Randy, rhythmic and beautiful music and whatnot. So there's going to be some tremendous things.
And a great and positive individual, too.
Correct.
Whose heart is right in Africa.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, some of the people, you're going to have more speakers. We're going to try to videotape some of these people because there are so many people coming and so many people who are going to want to say positive words to and about Alambe Brath. That we're going to have to go out in the audience and whatnot and sort of get some speakers because if we allowed everybody to speak, I'm sure we would be there until June 23rd.
Quite a long time. A lot of people want to speak.
That's a testament to your brother. It is. That's
we'll have it in two parts. We'll have it in the auditorium, and we'll have it also in the cafeteria area.
Right.
You see, so we can pull some people aside at times and whatnot. Not that we want to leave the front desk unattended.
Right. Again, you mentioned Senator Perkins. There are some others involved in this thing. I think D12 has a hand in it, or
D12 has a good hand in it. Senator staff. Excuse me. Senator staff has been magnificent.
That is incredible because I was at the state office building and literally every person in the staff is involved in this thing, which is kind of unprecedented, especially when you, and I mean top down. I don't mean he told all his staff just handle it. I mean, he's in the mix, Cordell is in the mix, Keith Lilly is in the mix, Linda's in the mix. The whole staff is putting this thing together. This
and they work really well together. It's
right.
Really,
There's
a full court press. If you
He runs a cool operation. He has good people, you know. And Cordell is as dynamic as it gets. Keith, the whole staff, you know.
They're great people.
Yeah. Keith Lilly, Cordell Clear, Lindawood Guy, and probably anybody that they could find in the elevator is working on this. We're kind of running short of time. Anything you'd like to add? I didn't get a chance to. Well, no, I won't. You've been like giving up the time to your big brother, 'cause, you know. But this ain't your big brother's show. You know, it's my show. Don't worry about it. What would you like to add? What would if there was? Is there anything that you would like your big brother to know that we can save for posterity?
Trying to think. I don't know. I think he knows that
Good.
how we all feel about him. But he's been a great influence over a lot of people. But one thing we didn't talk about much right here is there's so much humor. He has such a great sense of humor. Some of this is missed. You know, people don't know that, but he has a great sense of humor.
Right.
And I think that adds more humanity to the man, because other people think, oh well, it's politics.
Right.
But no, it's a lot of joy and humor.
Right. Kwame?
Well, I mean, he has been my leader and a lot of people's leader for many, many years, decades.
Right.
I mean, it's 53 years that we have been in the struggle.
Wow.
53 years. That's right. 1960.
Wow.
We actually, if you go back into the when we formed AJS, 1956, is even longer than that. But when we got deeper, when we started getting into the Garveyism strong, you know, it's been that long, and not intermittently. I'm talking about every day.
Right.
I'm talking about every day.
Right.
So like it's a thing. It's just part of our life. We couldn't, you know. I guess I couldn't do anything else. But what we're doing now is we're trying to complete the book. We are completing the book that Ilambe and I started some years ago, and it will be self-published. And we are going to do it the route that's today's route, and that is self-publishing. We will be looking for contributions, going over some of the, like the Indiegogo and those other services that you just put up your proposal and people contribute to it, and you reward them in various types of ways. And many projects have been completed very well that way. We'll be talking about that at the event at some point, or handing out something, let people know how they can help and bring this to it. Because, we talk and I talk all the time to other organizations saying, look, you can go to the Schomburg right now and read about things that happened thousands of years ago, but that's not all that happened. That's what got documented. So you better start now archiving your stuff and document it. So we're trying to create the archives of the organization, of the individuals and whatnot, whether it's my photographs, whether it's his writings, whether it's both, and also use that for resources to publish books and get it out there yourself.
I'm trying to, let's see. Trying to get the exact address for Harriet Tubman.
I think the best way to just say it is Harriet Tubman is 127th Street between Adam Clayton Powell, which is 7th Avenue, and Frederick Douglass, which is 8th Avenue. It's one big school.
127th Street between 7th and 8th.
That's it. That's it.
All right.
Because
and it starts at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
At 4 o'clock.
All right, 4 o'clock Saturday.
I'll be there.
The joint gonna be rocking.
Yes.
Get there early, get a good spot.
Get there early, get a good spot. You heard it from the man himself. We'll be celebrating the dynamo that is Ilambe Brath, and we want to do that while he's still around to feel the vibes and the love going out to him. And the joint will be rocking. I mean, it's going to be packed. You should get there early. We start at 4 o'clock. I would advise everyone not to come CP time, you know, get their black people time, don't get their colored people time, because black people are always on time. Colored people, you know, sometimes they sleep a little late. But it is going to be a dynamic event. If you were paying for any of these people, it would cost you a nice piece of change. And it's going to be a heck of an evening. And I'd like to thank Senator Perkins. I'd like to thank the December 12th movement.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank the Brathwaite brothers for taking their time out and coming out here and you know, giving the big black power fist to their dynamic big brother. I'm glad to know that Alambe's wife is up and around now.
Yes.
We gotta get this brother up and around.
That's
and
right.
then
That's the goal.
right. Then I'm gonna throw his butt right on the front lines again. Let me say this because we're running out of time. We only got like a minute left. We're having the People's Film Festival. The opening is May 30th. It runs from May 30th to June 2nd. May 30th is the first show. That show will be featuring the film by Felipe Niang. It's Toussaint Louverture. And
Where is it going to be?
Magic Johnson Theater. Thank you. See, that's why I need help. And I'm running out of time. Let me get here because